Hey everyone, welcome back to Clarity English Podcast. I'm Emma, and today we're exploring something that seems simple but changes everything about how you communicate.
Hi everyone, I'm Mike. Before we jump into our topic, let me ask you something that might seem strange.
Go ahead, what is it?
Why does saying you are rude feel completely different from saying you are being rude? Have you ever noticed that?
Wow, that's actually a great question. They do sound different, don't they?
Exactly. One describes your personality, the other describes your behavior right now in this very moment.
That's fascinating. So today's episode is about understanding this difference?
Yes, today we're exploring to be versus being. These two forms look similar, but they communicate very different meanings.
This distinction matters because it changes how people understand you and how you express yourself.
In real conversations, at work, with friends, this difference appears constantly.
So today we're going to step into real-world scenarios, coffee shops, office meetings, daily interactions.
We'll master this essential distinction once and for all, so you can use it confidently.
Let's start with understanding what to be means. This is the most basic form.
To be is about identity. It's about describing what someone or something fundamentally is.
For example, I am a teacher. This describes your profession, your identity, who you are.
Or she is intelligent. This describes her characteristic, a permanent quality about her.
To be statements describe permanent or stable characteristics, things that define you.
Like, you are honest, they are creative, he is responsible. These are qualities that are part of who you are.
Now let's talk about being. This is different. Being describes what's happening right now.
Being focuses on temporary behavior, what you're doing at this exact moment, a temporary state.
For example, I am being patient with you right now. You're displaying patience in this moment, but maybe you're not always patient.
Or, she is being very kind today. She's acting kindly now, but it might not be her normal behavior.
Being describes temporary actions or states, current behavior, what's happening in this specific moment.
This is the fundamental difference. To be is about permanent identity. Being is about temporary behavior.
Let me show you the difference with two clear sentences. Pay close attention.
Sentence 1. You are rude. What does this mean?
This says you have a rude personality. It's describing who you are as a person, your character trait.
Sentence 2. You are being rude. What's different?
This says you're acting rudely right now. Your behavior in this moment is rude, but it doesn't define your entire personality.
Same action, completely different meaning. Same situation, different implications.
The first one is an insult about your personality. The second one is feedback about your current behavior.
This difference matters a lot in relationships and communication.
Let's explore more examples because this pattern repeats in many situations.
Example 1. You are lazy versus you are being lazy.
First sentence describes your character. You're a lazy person. Second sentence describes your current behavior. You're not working hard right now.
Example 2. She is mean versus she is being mean.
First sentence says her personality is mean. Second sentence says she's acting mean right now. Maybe she's upset about something.
Example 3. He is shy versus he is being shy.
First sentence describes his fundamental personality. He's a shy person. Second sentence says he's acting quietly right now. Maybe he's tired or uncomfortable.
The pattern is clear. To be describes permanent identity. Being describes temporary behavior.
Let's talk about how we form these structures, because grammar matters for understanding.
To be uses the simple form, am, is, are, plus an adjective.
Like, I am happy. She is creative. They are intelligent. Simple and straightforward.
Being uses am being, is being, are being, plus an adjective.
Like, I am being careful, she is being kind, they are being considerate. The structure is different. This structure difference signals the meaning difference.
Let's create a conversation showing how these work together naturally.
Person A asks, why is John so quiet today?
Person B answers, John is shy. This describes his personality. He's always quiet.
Or person B could say, John is being shy right now. This means he's quiet at this moment. Maybe he's uncomfortable about something specific.
Same person, different explanations, different tenses, different implications.
In real conversations, people choose between these based on what they mean.
Now, let's talk about something important. How do you use these in negative sentences?
Negative with to be, I am not confident. This describes your personality. You lack confidence in general.
Negative with being, I am not being confident. This means you're not acting confidently right now, but you might be confident normally.
The difference stays the same. Permanent versus temporary, identity versus behavior.
Let's explore the difference in questions too, because that's important.
Question with to be, are you angry? This asks about your general emotional state or personality.
Question with being, are you being angry right now? This asks about your current behavior. Why are you acting angry now?
Same question topic, different focus, different meaning. Before we go deeper, let's quickly review the main difference.
To be describes permanent qualities, identity, characteristics that define you.
Being describes temporary behavior, current actions, what's happening right now.
Simple. These two basic ideas explain most situations.
Now let's explore deeper, because understanding the rule is one thing, using it confidently is another. Let's talk about personality and identity with to be. This is where it shines.
When you describe someone's personality, you use to be.
Like, my mother is caring. This describes her fundamental nature. She is a caring person.
Or, my friend is ambitious. He has ambition as a core characteristic. It defines him.
These statements describe core identity, who someone is at their essence.
You wouldn't change these statements lightly. They describe fundamental traits.
Now let's talk about temporary behavior and current actions with being.
When you describe someone's current behavior, you use being.
Like, my mother is being caring right now. She's showing care in this moment, but maybe she's stressed usually.
Or, my friend is being ambitious today. He's working hard now, but usually he's relaxed.
These statements focus on what's happening right now, temporary behavior, current actions.
These can change from moment to moment. They're temporary and situational.
Let's create a more complex scenario. This shows how both forms work together.
Imagine you're watching a movie and your friend keeps talking during it.
You could think, my friend is disrespectful. This describes his personality. He's generally disrespectful.
Or you could say, my friend is being disrespectful right now. You're criticizing his current behavior. He's not usually like this.
The choice depends on what you really think about your friend's character.
This matters because using the wrong form sends the wrong message.
Let's talk about professional contexts because this distinction appears constantly there.
In a workplace, you might say, John is irresponsible. This describes his character, his professional identity.
Or, John is being irresponsible today. His behavior today seems careless, but he's usually responsible.
A boss would choose carefully between these when evaluating an employee.
The wrong choice could damage someone's professional reputation or miss an opportunity to give feedback. Let's look at mistakes learners commonly make with these forms.
Mistake 1, saying, you are being lazy, when you mean permanent laziness.
If someone is truly lazy, you should say, you are lazy to describe their character.
Using being suggests temporary behavior, which might not be what you mean.
Mistake 2, saying you are rude when you mean temporary rudeness.
If someone is just acting rudely now, say you are being rude to criticize the behavior, not the character.
This softens the criticism. It doesn't attack their whole personality. Let's talk about emotional meaning with these forms because they carry different feelings.
You are mean sounds like a harsh personal attack on someone's character.
You are being mean sounds like feedback about current behavior, less personal, less permanent.
The being form gives people room to change. It criticizes the action, not the person.
This is why teachers and parents often use being form. It's less damaging to self-esteem. Let's create a real conversation showing both forms naturally.
Parent to child, you are being difficult right now.
This criticizes current behavior, not permanent personality.
The parent might also say, you are a difficult child. This describes the child's overall personality.
Very different messages, very different impact on the child.
Parents who understand this distinction communicate more effectively with their children.
Let's talk about how these connect to identity and self-perception.
When you describe yourself, the form you choose matters psychologically.
Saying, I am anxious, suggests anxiety is part of your identity. It's who you are.
Saying, I am being anxious suggests you're experiencing anxiety right now, but it's temporary.
This distinction affects how you see yourself and what you believe about your future.
This is important for personal growth and change.
This brings us to something deeper, how to be and being relate to your identity and future.
Let's think about how you can use these forms intentionally to support personal change.
If you want to become more confident, what you say to yourself matters.
You could say, I am not confident, but this describes fixed identity.
Or you could say, I am being not confident right now. This suggests your behavior can change.
The second statement opens the door to transformation. It's not fixed, it's temporary.
Let's talk about manifesting personal change as we move into 2026.
Think about who you want to become in 2026. What changes do you want to make?
You could think, I am disorganized. This is fixed identity. It suggests you'll always be disorganized.
You could think, I am being disorganized, but I'm choosing to change this pattern.
This second approach acknowledges current behavior, but opens possibility for change.
The distinction between to be and being is crucial for personal transformation.
Let's explore how being intentional with your actions transforms who you are.
When you change your behavior intentionally, your identity eventually follows.
For example, you want to become more patient.
You start practicing patience. You practice responding slowly. You practice listening more carefully.
At first, you're being patient. You're performing the behavior intentionally.
Over time, through consistent practice, patience becomes part of who you are. You are patient.
The behavior, being, eventually transforms into identity, to be. This is the secret of personal change and personal growth.
You don't have to believe you are the person you want to become.
You just have to start being that person. Start practicing that behavior.
Over time, the behavior becomes identity. The temporary becomes permanent.
This is how people transform themselves, through intentional action, through consistent choice.
Understanding to be versus being helps you see this process clearly.
Let's create a story showing this transformation.
Imagine someone who wants to be healthier in 2026.
Right now, they might say, I am unhealthy, fixed identity, permanent state.
But then they make a decision. I'm going to start being healthy. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to eat better.
At first, these actions are conscious choices. They're being healthy.
After weeks and months of consistent behavior, something shifts.
They start to feel like these actions are natural. They become a healthy person.
The temporary behavior has transformed into permanent identity.
Let's talk about how this connects to your current behavior and true identity.
Think about yourself right now. What are you being that you want to change?
What behaviors are you displaying that don't match who you want to be?
Maybe you're being impatient, but you want to be patient.
Maybe you're being negative, but you want to be positive.
The gap between your current behavior and your desired identity is where change happens.
Let's do a quick thinking exercise. This is personal work.
I want you to ask yourself, what is one area where my current behavior doesn't match my true identity?
One place where I am being someone who isn't really me.
Take a moment and think about that. Where is the gap between current behavior and desired identity?
This is the challenge I want to give you as you move into 2026. Let's look at more examples of to be versus being in daily life.
Example in a coffee shop. The barista is friendly. This describes their personality.
The barista is being friendly right now. They're acting warmly, but maybe they're not always so friendly.
Example at work. My colleague is creative. This describes their professional identity.
My colleague is being creative this week. She's coming up with great ideas right now.
Example at home. My partner is supportive. This describes their character.
My partner is being supportive about my decision. They're helping me right now. Before we continue, let's review what we've covered.
To be describes permanent qualities, identity, who you fundamentally are.
Being describes temporary behavior, current actions, what's happening right now.
The distinction matters for communication, for relationships, for understanding people.
Let's go deeper with more practical scenarios. Let's talk about how you can use these forms in self-talk intentionally.
What you say to yourself matters. It shapes your self-image.
If you say, I am bad at public speaking, you're describing fixed identity.
If you say, I am being shy about public speaking right now, you're acknowledging temporary behavior.
The second version gives you power to change. The first suggests you can't.
Intentional self-talk using being can help you transform.
Let's talk about relationships and how these forms affect communication.
When someone says, you are selfish, it attacks identity.
When someone says you are being selfish, it criticizes current behavior.
People respond better to feedback about behavior than attacks on character.
Using being makes conversations more productive and less damaging. Let's create a conversation showing this in a relationship context.
Partner 1 says, you are being dismissive of my feelings.
This criticizes current behavior, opens the door for discussion and change.
Partner 1 could have said, you are dismissive. This attacks character, closes the conversation.
The first version is more likely to lead to understanding and change. This is why understanding these forms matters in personal relationships. Let's talk about time perspectives with these forms, because that's important.
To be focuses on no specific time. It describes what's always true or generally true about someone.
Being focuses on the present moment, right now, this specific time.
The time focus is built into the form itself.
When you use to be, you're making a statement about the past, present, and future.
When you use being, you're making a statement only about right now.
Let's do some correction practice. These are common mistakes.
Mistake. I am being smart. This sounds odd because smart describes permanent intelligence.
Better, I am smart. Or if you mean showing intelligence in this moment, I'm showing intelligence right now.
Mistake. You are being lazy right now. You should say, you are being lazy right now.
The being form is better here because you're describing current behavior, not permanent character.
Mistake. I am being a teacher. No, you would say, I am a teacher.
Professional identity uses to be, not being. Let's talk about cultural differences and how these forms are used.
Different cultures and different people emphasize identity or behavior differently.
Some cultures focus more on fixed identity. You are lazy. That's who you are.
Other cultures focus more on changeable behavior. You're acting lazily today.
Understanding both perspectives helps you communicate across cultures. Let's create a real-world scenario showing both forms in extended conversation.
Mom to son, you are being disrespectful to your teacher.
This criticizes current behavior, not his fundamental character.
Mom continues, I know you are a respectful person, but your behavior today doesn't show that.
Notice how she distinguishes between his character to be, and his current behavior, being.
This approach helps people understand they can change behavior without changing identity.
Let's talk about how being relates to emotions and emotional states.
Emotional states are often temporary. They change throughout the day.
You might say, I am sad. This describes an ongoing emotional state.
Or, I am being sad. This sounds strange. Usually we say, I am sad for emotions.
But for emotional behavior, being works. I am being grumpy today.
You're displaying grumpiness, but you're not fundamentally a grumpy person.
Let's discuss how understanding these forms helps with goal setting for 2026.
When you set goals, be clear about what you want to transform.
Do you want to change a permanent behavior or develop a new identity?
I want to stop being impatient suggests temporary behavior change.
I want to become patient suggests permanent identity change.
The distinction affects how you approach the goal.
Let's create a goal-setting example using these forms.
Goal: I want to be healthier in 2026.
This is an identity goal. You want to become a healthy person fundamentally.
Action: I'm going to be healthier every day. This is the temporary behavior.
Over time, being healthy, behavior, becomes being a healthy person, identity.
The forms show the transformation process.
Before we finish, let's do one final thinking exercise about personal change.
I want you to identify one area where your current behavior matches your true identity.
Where are you being exactly who you want to be?
Celebrate that. That's where your behavior and identity already align.
Then, identify one area where they don't align, where you're being something you don't want to be.
That gap is your opportunity for growth in 2026.
Let's do one last practice with both forms together.
Situation 1. Describing a friend who is always optimistic.
You'd say, my friend is optimistic. That's identity, who they are.
Situation 2. Your friend is acting optimistic despite problems.
You'd say, my friend is being optimistic today, acknowledging the choice to be positive.
Both forms, different meanings.
Let's create a comprehensive summary of everything we've learned.
To be describes permanent characteristics, identity, who you fundamentally are.
To be describes temporary behavior, current actions, what's happening right now.
Understanding this distinction transforms how you communicate, how you see yourself, and how you can change.
Here's something very important to remember.
You are not trapped by your current behavior. You are not defined by your current actions.
You have the power to be intentional about your behavior, and through intentional behavior, you can transform your identity.
That's the real power of understanding to be versus being.
As we move into 2026, think about who you want to be.
Then start being that person. Start practicing those behaviors.
Over time, the behavior transforms into identity. The temporary becomes permanent.
This is how people change. This is how you transform yourself.
So today, we learned what to be means and when to use it.
What being means and when to use it. How they differ in communication.
How to use these forms intentionally, how behavior can transform into identity.
How to set goals for change in 2026 using these forms.
This is your challenge. Identify one area where your current behavior doesn't match your true identity.
Where are you being someone who isn't really you?
Write about it. Think about it. Then commit to changing that behavior.
Remember, you're not changing who you are. You're changing how you're being right now.
If this episode helped you understand these confusing forms, please subscribe to our channel.
We create lessons regularly to help learners master important English concepts.
We create clear, practical English teaching, and we genuinely read your comments too.
Thank you for learning with us at Clarity English Podcast.
Keep practicing. Keep being intentional about your behavior. Keep transforming yourself.
Small changes in behavior lead to big changes in identity.
See you in the next episode, friends.
Take care, everyone. Remember, you are capable of being anyone you want to be. Start today.
Bye, friends. To be describes who you are. Being describes what you're doing right now. Master both, transform yourself.